Today is Friday. It is Chavtes Adar Tovshin Ayin Ches. We are in Teres Menachem Sefer Mamarim Tovshin Yud. We are in the Mamar of the first night of Shavuos. Shehikdimu. We are on page Kuf Samach. We went up until 13 lines to the bottom of the page of Kuf Samach. Page Kuf Samach. The line starts Hainu. We are at the full stop. We rushed through the last part during the last year, so I just want to go back for a moment. And in order to understand more clearly what the Rebbe is trying to say here, I will read to you in English translation from the Likutei Torah, the Alter Rebbe's Likutei Torah in Shir HaShirim, which is referred to in reference.
Translated it?
No, this is the original text. But I'm going to
You're
read it to you.
translate it, yeah.
I'm going to read it to you in English.
Right.
The original text is in Lashon Kodesh, which it's the Likutei Torah of Shir HaShirim referenced in reference 28.
Yeah.
The verse states, "Leman yizamercha chavit v'lo yidom." We say in davening in chapter 30 of Psalms, we say Mizmor Chalukas Abayis LeDavid just after Haidu. At the end we say, "Leman yizamercha chavit v'lo yidom," so that I may sing to you, so that my soul may sing to you and never cease. So the Alter Rebbe interprets this as a reference to Malchus of Atzilus. The Malchus of Atzilus is in a state of Yezamercha, singing Hashem's praises. There's another verse that says, Va'ani tefillah, I pray. But Chassidus Kabbalah interprets this as meaning, I am prayer. Malchus is in a state of prayer, of supplication, in a state of being drawn to higher. Malchus of Atzilus. And he goes on and he says as follows: Malchus of Atzilus is made up, has within it all the 10 divine attributes: Chabad, Midas, and Dibur. Chesed, Chochmah, Midas, the 6 Midas, and Dibur, speech, communication, which would be Malchus of Malchus, so to speak, right? What's the idea of Dibur, communication? It means Dibur is already to the outside. From there stem the 10 utterances with which Hashem created the world, right?
From Malchus to Atzilus.
Yes. As the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, I believe the Alter Rebbe says it.
Source of the Shekhinah too.
Correct.
Yeah.
The transmission onto worlds, Bri Yitzir Asiyah, is through Malchus of Atzilus. And in Malchus of Atzilus itself, it's Malchus of Malchus, which is the communicator, the transmitter. Right?
Right. I get that.
The 10 divine utterances of Hashem that are clothed in the worlds, are transmitted through Dibur of Malchus.
I didn't get the fact of the all 10 because why only Malchus and Malchus?
No, they're all the spheres are made up of the 10. But he's focusing here on Malchus. He's saying Malchus has within it all the 10 divine attributes.
Is that because of the connection to Keter?
Very good. In a second.
Yeah.
Well, this is what the Rebbe is getting to.
Right.
Malchus is bittul, but then you have the higher bittul. We'll get to that in a minute. That's why I want to flesh it out a little bit more. So, through the last aspect of Malchus, the Dibur of Malchus, is transmitted the 10 divine utterances with which Hashem creates the worlds, that are clothed in worlds, and particularly in souls of men, of humans, and in angels. Right? Now, depending on what state of revelation is present in Malchus, that will have a knock-on effect onto those that receive from Malchus, the souls, the angels, the worlds, and so on and so forth. So when there is the revelation of Hashem's infinite light in this prayer, in this praise, in Malchus, meaning to say, when the revelation of the Chabad and Midas of Malchus is revealed in Malchus of Malchus, in Dibur of Malchus, then it's in a state of transmitting that on. Now he says, for example, and we find that he says, we find a parable to this, that to the degree that there's revelation from higher levels, it has an impact on what goes on lower. For example, a person down here below. When a person davens, he prays to Hashem. And sometimes the person prays with great desire, with great yearning and attachment to Hashem. And it's then that his davening, that the person's prayer emanates from the depths of his heart, and it's with a fire. Right? And something that emanates from the heart enters the heart to the one that hears it, to the extent that the one that hears it also becomes excited and moved by those words, because they're said with passion and with meaning. But if a person speaks with coldness, just by rote, it doesn't have any effect. So too above, when we talk about the idea of Va'ani Tefillah, I am prayer, in the deeper interpretation of this verse, that it's a reference to Malchus. It's a reference to Malchus of Atzilus, when the Chabad and the Midas of Malchus of Atzilus are also present within the Dibur of Malchus, the lowest level of Malchus of Atzilus. And that is transmitted, those are the letters, the utterances that are transmitted on into the souls of humans, into angels, and then godliness is revealed. And this revelation of godliness is felt by souls down here below, by us down here below, and we are automatically drawn to Hashem. It's got nothing to do with us. It's just because the revelation is so powerful, and because all the hashpah, the flow of Hashem's divine energy goes through Malchus, and Malchus is in a state of full revelation. Chabad is revealed in Malchus. The Midas are revealed in Malchus, and that has a knock-on effect onto the souls down here below, that we feel that revelation. But the key is that we're drawn on our own. We are moved and become awakened on our own without having to really put in any effort. This is love and fear of Hashem that are drawn from above as a gift. But sometimes, when this Dibur Ha'elyon, when the Dibur of Malchus, the lowest level of Malchus, is not revealed down here below, number one, and also because of our coarseness and the fact that we are materialistic people, that's when materialistically based in that's our state of reality, is Gashmius. So that these two things, the fact that sometimes the revelation through Malchus is not as strong, the Chabad and the Midas of Malchus are not as strongly revealed within the Dibur of Malchus, and also combined with our Gashmius, with our physically based beings that we are, right? Then we can only be awakened with the fear and love of Hashem from above if we do something on our own. We have to awaken, we have to work harder in order to achieve that. This is the idea of Adnai Sfasai Tiftach. That's what I'm driving at. This is the reference in the Mamar. This is what they're referring to. When we say before Shemana Esra, Adnai Sfasai Tiftach, Hashem, open my lips. Adnai is Malchus. And what we're saying is, Malchus, please, open our lips of our davening. Ufi yagid yilasecha. And my mouth, yagid, should speak, but yagid is also an expression of drawing down. And my mouth should draw down your praises, should draw down the revelations of Malchus. What does it mean to draw down? Just like when one draws water, or when one channels water that's flowing from above to below, and draws the water to go to a certain direction, in a certain direction, so the water is being drawn on its own. It's falling on its own. All the person is doing is directing it to a certain location. So in this instance, we're talking about, in Adnai Sfasai Tiftach, we're talking about the praise of the souls, and the supplication of the soul, as it were, is not because of the soul's comprehension itself, because we're making any effort. No. That revelation is coming. All we're doing is we're mouthing it and uttering it and channeling it into a certain direction, as it were. Meaning to say that what is the person's mouth, what's the function of the person's mouth in this instance, or the words the person is saying. It's a keli, it's a vessel for the Hashem's dibur of Malchus, as it were, as mentioned before, to rest on it, upon it, and to be channeled through it into the person and into the world, basically. So in other words, there is a state. So in other words, the point basically being that there are two situations. One is where the person needs to make an effort to do something in order to awaken the love and fear, in order to awaken the inspiration, in order to awaken the revelation of godliness, and then also to channel it. Another state is when the revelation and the awakening comes from above automatically, and the person is merely there as a receptacle to receive it and to channel it. That's it. That is the meaning, the latter is the meaning of Adnai Sfasei Tiftach Afi Yaget Elasacha. Adnai, you, Hashem, through Malchus of, Dibur of Malchus of Atzilus. Sfasei Tiftach, open my lips.
So just hang on one thing, I don't understand what
Ufi Yaget Elasacha, and my mouth will draw down
the whole
and
world
channel.
was created by Hashem's Dibur. So why do we single out the Neshamas of the Yidden from Malchus? Because everything was created by Malchus.
Yes, but we're talking about revelation, when it's more revealed. The world is constantly being recreated by Hashem's dibur.
From Malchus.
Correct. But in certain instances it's more revealed, and in certain instances it's more concealed. We're talking about Gilui. Right? It should be in a state where,
So it's not exclusively the Neshamas, the
Well,
Shina is in
the Neshamas have the ability. Well, first of all, broadly speaking, when Hashem created the world originally, it was Kichofetz Chesed, it was His initiative. Right? From that point and on, it's up to Avodas Adam, and man has to serve Hashem in order to continuously draw down that energy. But then there's an additional point. To drawing down the energy is one thing. You can look around in the world and see that it exists.
the Ratzah V'Shabbat.
Yes, but I'm talking
We
about
have to put it
how does it exist? Normally, it's in a state of concealment. Here, we're talking about when a person davens and connects to Hashem in this manner, it's revealed. There's actually a feeling of love and fear of Hashem within the person, right? But then he also speaks about through this process touching a higher level, touching Seifif. Let's see how the Rebbe explains this. Let's go back a couple of lines.
More than a few.
He was talking about the wings of the angels, as it were, right? Which is a reference to Ava and Yira, love and fear. So the angels have love and fear, and so too man has love and fear of Hashem, because those are necessary components that lift, like wings that lift a bird. The Ava and Yira, love and fear, lifts the Avodas Adam, man's service of Hashem. Without that, the davening or the actions of the person don't go up, as it were. They're not lifted up to Hashem, right? Let's start from a couple lines higher than I mentioned. The line starts Le'ela, V'inyan. We'll start from V'inyan. V'inyan ha'ava v'yira hu be'emtza tefillah. The love and fear of Hashem is in the middle of the davening. B'psuki d'zimra, in the song, in the verses of praise, Birchas Kriya Shema, the blessings of the Shema v'Kriya Shema and the Shema itself. That's all the section of davening that relates to the love and fear of the person. After that is followed by the service represented in the Amidah. She'ein ha'be'efer shel rotzu. Ava and Yira, love and fear of Hashem, is in the manner of rotzu, right? Being drawn to Hashem. It's noisy. When it comes to Shemona Esrei, we have to stand still. Why? Because Shemona Esrei is not the manner of rotzu, of being drawn above and noisy, but rather be'efer shel bittul b'metzias, the person is in a state of total nullification. The question is, if that's the case, so then why do we speak at all? Why do we mouth the words? If it's bittul, so what? How does that go along with actually mouthing the words of the Amidah? So he says, also the dibur, the utterances, the words that we say, when we say when we recite Shemona Esrei, is also in a manner of total nullification. Because this is the meaning of that which we say preceding the Shemona Esrei. We say the verse, Adnai Sfasei Tiftach Hashem, open my lips, which means to say, as I just explained from the Alter Rebbe's Likutei Torah, what we're saying is, this is a reference to what is being bestowed upon us from above. it's just, as it were, being beamed down to us. My mouth should tell your praises. The word yagid is also from the expression of drawing. In other words, that your praises that are there up above in Malchus of Atzilus, nimshech al yedei pi, is drawn down through my mouth, shehu bebitul b'metzias, meaning to say that the person is in a state of total nullification. In other words, all that the mouth is doing is channeling that which is being given to the person above. But it's unlike Psukei de Zimra and Kriya Shema, Brichas Kriya Shema and Kriya Shema, where the person is working with himself to awaken himself with a sense of love and fear of Hashem, which is noisy and is focused on the self, and it's the opposite of bittul, right? It's the person working within himself and being consciously aware of his state and his love and fear of Hashem and trying to awaken himself with a love and fear for Hashem. Shemoneh Esrei is quite the opposite. The person is in a state of total nullification. And the words that the person is mouthing is merely channeling that revelation and that inspiration that's being given to him from above. Why is the person overcome with this sense of nullification, which is represented in Shemoneh Esrei? That's because it results from the revelation of Hashem from above, which is beyond comprehension. It's totally beyond the person. So when something is so overwhelming, what happens is the person becomes in a state of nullification. Right? When somebody comprehends or realizes that there's something great there, which the person wants to have a desire for and could have some attachment, it becomes noisy. You're drawn to it, as it were. When it's so overwhelmingly powerful, the person becomes nullified. And the Rebbe explains it. So this bittul emanates from the revelation from above, which is beyond the person's comprehension. The humitzat base timing. There are two reasons why the person is in a state of bittul, as represented in Shemoneh Esrei. Tam ha'alef, the first reason is shemitzat gili eir hayeser naila, because of this, as a result of this tremendously great revelation of light, of Hashem's energy. Nirgesh etzlei, what the person suddenly feels is overcome with a feeling that all of his service of Hashem is totally meaningless. In other words, it's not that that the revelation is so great and I'm so small. It's so immeasurably greater than anything that I can possibly achieve or do, that my avodah is meaningless in the context, as it were. Obviously, it's not meaningless because Hashem makes it meaningful. But if I have to focus on my state of being, my deeds, my avodas Hashem, relative to Hashem's greatness, you suddenly realize that it's not that we're tiny; we're totally insignificant. So one is overcome with the sense of bittul b'metzias, total nullification. That's reason one. So that's why the person is not in a state of being drawn or wanting to be connected in a noisy way, as it were, which is represented in Ava v'Yira, because over here the person is overcome with the state of bittul. Who am I? That's reason one. The Tama Bey is the second reason. Because when we talk about the revelation of Hashem's transcendent divine energy, which he's being focused on over here, because as you mentioned before, it's Shemoneh Esrei, it's bittul, but it's a higher bittul. It's following the Psukei de Zimra, it's following Brichas Kriya Shema, it's following the Shema, right? So we've gone up. So we've reached, we're going up into the revelations of Hashem's transcendent divine energy. The nature of the transcendent divine energy is that it exists above and below equally. Right? As the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe says in the Mamar Basa Legani, quoting the Kabbalah, which says, "Kad iskafya sitra achra istaleki kor de kuchbricha b'chul almin," that when a person subjugates the sitra achra, the opposite of kedusha, istalek yikor de kuchbricha, the Hashem's revelation of Hashem's glory, is revealed b'chul almin, in all worlds. So he says istalik really means, the simple definition is removed, but over here it obviously means it's not removed, it's drawn down, but it's referred to in a manner with the word istalik. Why? because we're talking about a divine energy that is in all B'chul Almin, that is equal in all worlds. Right? So it's istalic because it's transcendent. So it's present in a transcendent manner. Right? But it's B'chul Almin, it's equally present in Atzilus as it is down here below. So therefore, since we're talking about the revelation of Hashem's transcendent divine energy in Shemona Esrei, when a person is davening Shemona Esrei, right? So we're talking about a level of godliness that is present down here below, just as it is above. Elashul behelim. It's just that it's in a state of concealment. It's present. So why don't we feel it if it's present? Because it's in a state of concealment. So what do we need to do? We don't need to draw it down because it's present.
Yeah.
What we have to do is reveal it. But what's the point? Being that this divine energy, this transcendent divine energy is present down here below, you can't say I'm being drawn to it. Being drawn to something means if you're here and something else is there.
Right.
But you're both here.
Right.
So there's no rotzu. So that's the second reason. The Zui Aveda de Shemona Esrei. This is the service of Hashem represented in Shemona Esrei. Be'ofen shel bittul b'metzias, in the manner of total nullification, mitzad gili ha'er shel hamayla ma'asaka, which stems as a result of Hashem's divine energy. In other words, the bittul b'metzias, the total nullification, is a result of the revelation of Hashem's light, which is beyond comprehension. For although this revelation of Hashem's light is totally beyond the person's comprehension, it's not only that he doesn't understand and comprehend the revelation of Hashem's divine energy. Even more so, one cannot even say that he feels it, and just doesn't comprehend its essence. So in other words, what doesn't the person feel? What doesn't the person comprehend? Not only doesn't he say I feel it, but I don't comprehend it. No, it's even beyond that. It's totally beyond the person's comprehension. Meaning to say that he can't even say that I feel it, but I don't understand its essence. I don't comprehend its essence. No, it's totally beyond the person. The hasoga ain't a clear klal gila irza, because comprehension is totally not the right means through which to receive anything from this revelation. Hasoga, comprehension, is not a vessel, is totally not a vessel for such a revelation of godliness. So therefore, if that's the case, how does the person feel anything? Even the bittul. If it's totally beyond him, then it's almost non-existent.
Yes.
In real terms, for all intents and purposes, right?
Spinning it the other way.
So Mikol Mokim says that nevertheless, he might not feel it, but internally, at his core, this revelation does have an effect on the person. This is similar to that which is stated in the prophet Daniel. When he had a vision, right? And he was among people, he says, I myself saw the vision. The people that were with him, they did not see the vision that I saw. However, the verse states, Daniel states, they were overcome with a tremendous trepidation, right? Even though they didn't see the vision, but they started trembling. What does it mean they didn't see? They weren't consciously aware of it, but at their core it touched them. Amr Razal, the sages in Tractate Megillah state, for although the people that were present didn't actually see the vision, but mazlayu chazi, their mazel, meaning to say the inner aspect of their soul, which means the soul above, which is attached to the soul that is below within the person, did see the vision, and that had the impact on the people down here below, that they were overcome with a trepidation. For although this is something which is totally beyond comprehension. Why? Shari mazel. When you say mazlayu chazi, what are we referring to? The mazel of the soul. What is that? This is a reference to the essence of the soul, which is beyond being clothed in a body. It's the soul that as it is above. And it's understood that comprehension is totally not a vessel for receiving revelation from the essence of the soul. Nevertheless, this revelation had the impact on them that a tremendous trepidation fell upon them. This is the avodah of Shemana Esrei that I was going to conclude that what? That even though it's something which is totally beyond hasogya, beyond comprehension, nevertheless it has an impact on the person, even on the external aspects of the person, just like the people present at Daniel, that he physically started trembling. More about that in Mitzvah on Sunday.